Hi, it's Mr. Minnick here, and I'd like to do some exercises off of Computer Number Systems Subtraction Worksheet number 1. Let's skip over the binary numbering questions and go to Octal, which seems to be easier for a beginner to first learn. Here we have the exercise 23 minus 7. Well, I don't want to do any of the exercises on this worksheet. I want you to have more practice when you get home for homework. So I'm going to, instead of doing that question, I'm just going to do a, let's say, 56 minus 17. And I really shouldn't say 56 and 17 because that's a decimal way of saying those numbers. 5, 6 base 8 and 1, 7 base 8. Let's do that subtraction. Well, first you see that you can't take 6 minus 7. You can't do that. So you have to borrow from the 5. Bump the 5 down to a 4. But you borrow a group of 8, not a group of 10. You don't make this 16. You borrow a group of 8, but then you realize that you had 6 currently on hand. So 8 plus 6 is really a 14. And it's 14 minus 7 that you need to compute. 14 minus 7 is 7. And 7 is a legal digit in a final octal answer here for this problem. So far so good. Now we are up to the 8s column. 4 minus 1 is 3. That's a legal digit, and that's that. So 5, 6 minus 1, 7 is equal to 3, 7 in the world of octal. Hey, if you want to check your work, just add up 3, 7 plus 1, 7 and see if you get the number 56, 5, 6. 7 plus 7 is 14. How many groups of 8 can you pull out of 14? One group of 8. How many leftovers do you have? You have 6 leftovers. And what is 1 plus 3 plus 1? 5. So yes, I was able to check that answer. So with this exercise here as a model, do these other octal problems, the subtraction problems. Borrowing groups of 8 when necessary. Now let's do a binary problem, or one similar to these on the homework. Okay, so let's make up a problem here. Let's say we have the number 1101, and we want to subtract the number 111. Let's try this out. Well, in binary, in this case, you take 1 minus 1. Well, that's 0. That's easy. But here you cannot subtract 0 minus 1. Can't do that. So you cross this 1 out. You knock it down to a 0. You borrow a group of 2. Instead of borrowing groups of 8 over here in octal, you borrow a group of 2. And you had 0 currently in this spot, so this 2 minus that 1 is a 1. Now in this column here, you currently have on your hands a situation where you have a 0 minus a 1. You can't do that either. So you cross that 1 out, bump it down to 0, you borrow a group of 2, and that 2 minus this 1 is 1. And of course, 0 minus the imaginary 0 there is 0. So your final answer can be written this way, or I don't care, you could just write it as 110. Well, anyway, that exercise, 1101 minus 111, and that answer is 110. That is not this worksheet question here, but it's close to it. So good luck with these other exercises. Please do show your work and set up your problems vertically somewhere in the margin of the paper so that I can see your work. Okay, finally we're going to do a hexadecimal subtraction problem. And we have a bunch of problems here to do. I'll just pick one of these to do, and you can have a free answer here for suffering through this video. Let's do Let's do this crazy one here. 9, 9. No, that's too easy. Let's do, that one's too easy. This one right here, number 13. 5b1 minus e9. Well, before I even do a hex problem, I make a little cheat sheet. A in hex is equal to 10 in decimal, B is 11, C is 12, and so on. And of course, you always stop at F, because that's just the way the hexadecimal digits work. Okay, well, we have a 1 minus 9, and we can't do that. So we cross that B out, and we knock it down 1. We knock it down to A. And we borrow a group of 16. Now that 16 plus the 1 that we had at one hand really adds up to a temporary sum of 17. And that 17 minus that 9, in the world of decimal in your head, that's 8. And 8 is a legal hexadecimal digit. So that's the answer there. Now we move to this column, A minus E. Let's see, A is really a 10, and E is really 14. And you can't do 10 minus 14. So we need to borrow. We need to knock the 5 down to a 4, borrow a group of 16, but we already had A on hand or in stock. And A is really 10, so that 10 plus the 16 that we borrowed makes a grand total of 26. And that 26 minus E, let's see, E is really 14. So 26 minus 14, you can probably do this in your head. 26 minus 14 is 12. So you want to write a 12 here, but you can't. You remember that 12 on the cheat sheet is the letter C, and that's what you write down here in your final answer. Okay, the rest of the problem is easy. 4 minus the imaginary 0 here, the invisible 0, is 4. So the final answer here to exercise 13 is 4C8. If you don't believe me, check it. Take 4C8 and add it to E9. We learned this on a previous video or on a worksheet, and I bet if you check that, it does work out to be 5B1, which of course is what it should be for this exercise to work out right. Hopefully now you can use the examples that I provided on this worksheet for hex, octal, and binary subtraction. Good luck.